Hello, welcome to Flory Models Daily Vlog. Here we are on Tuesday the 8th of September 2015 and cracking on with the bike still. Confession time, I put a massive fingerprint. No way you can go around it. To be honest, when I was decaling this one, I had hold of it right here, pinched it. I thought it was dry, been dry for 48 hours, and then I took my finger away and left a huge fingerprint well into the lacquer coat. So we ended up having to actually sand it all back and re-blow in that area, which wasn't too much of a problem because it's only just into the lacquer coat, so we could take care of that. And at the same time I thought, well, in for a penny, in for a pound, we'll actually go round and lacquer everything that's got a decal on it. That way it's got that nice deep lust and you've got no actual carry film marks at all. And it worked really, really well because they've still got a little bit of texture to them. It's not like they're now just sort of flat in there and everything else, but generally, hopefully you can see the bike's really looking the part now. To be honest, these decals, which I've just finished doing around the wheel rims with the hardest point, really tricky to get those to line up and to get in, especially the rear one, because you've actually got only a very small area of actual beadings where you can actually get the red into it. The front one's not so bad, it's got a little bit more, but the rear one is extremely tight. Not the easiest thing in the world, but generally, I must admit, it's really coming together now. Loving the paintwork, it's gone down flawlessly, no problem at all, and I've managed to go back and correct error after error after error, and it's still forgiving and giving me no troubles with it. Loads of you asking about lacquer now. I mentioned lacquer and all the rest of it. Trust me, watch the video, there's tons about it on there. I'm also going to do a standalone part on lacquering. To be honest, I completely re-lacquered the Hawk because it was going that well and looking really, really nice. So we re-lacquered the Hawk. Obviously we spoke about yesterday lacquering canopies, stuff like that. I intend to do a thing on lacquering, on clear coating. That's going to be a standalone, which I'm probably going to do either the end of this week or it'll be next week. I've got a load of reviewing and things to do at the end of the week. So that's what it is. It's just going to be talking about lacquering. Obviously the pros and cons to using an enamel or a lacquer based lacquer versus acrylic and various things. Different techniques I use for doing it. I'm not saying I'm a master at it, by no means. You know, I'm very happy how this has turned out. It's really come on nice now. And even this guy, which technically is looking very shiny, very, very nice. They come out extremely well. Every now and again though, something slips and it comes back and bites you. Anyway, part 4 of that went up yesterday. You're going to have part 5 on that tomorrow. This should be done, but I'm very delicately handling it, shall we say, so we don't get any fingerprints. The decaling is all on. It's all built. The lights are on, the mirrors are in and everything. It just needs to physically go together now. But because I'm still waiting for things to dry and go off, and you know, technically all of these parts are dry now, no problem. But as we know, if you handle them, the heat of your hand slightly melts that lacquer and gives you a real problem. So I'm probably going to set this one aside for the rest of the afternoon, do a bit of editing, edit it, this show, things like that, and then come back in the morning and go for final assembly. Then we're going to crack on with the Red Bull RB6, something different. This is our sort of bike and car theme for the summer, so we're going to push really quickly through that one. That's not going to be too much of a problem, and then we're going to look at especially painting, glossing and decaling. That's really what this one's going to be about, and then obviously the glossing is in lacquering now and everything else, and that's what I intend to do so I can show you exactly what's going to go through. The other thing that's going on at the moment is the video vote. What have I done with it? I was over there, hold on. Grab the other side of the studio. Grab that one. So we had almost three overall winners really into this one. We had the KA 27, the Helix, the multi-rotor naval thing. That was in 3rd place by the end of today. And then we actually had the Mosquito. Really, really close. I understand what a lot of people are saying, and I have to agree. I've just finished a massive, big project, obviously with the Typhoon, so it would be nice for me to do something a little bit smaller, very much quickly, and go through. We are going to be doing this one, don't worry about it, but there is some aftermarket stuff that's coming along for this, which I'm probably going to wait until they're there, such as things like the harnesses, stuff like that. But generally it'll be out of the box build, but I am waiting for sort of better markings to come along for that kit as well. So our next full video build is going to be this one. Now I have got coming, and I was hoping it'd be here today, I've got the other version of Edar's from this one, the NATO fighter. So we're going to be doing this one. But the markings, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up a poll on the site. It won't be today, but by the end of the week, for what markings you want to see this kit in. So obviously we're going to go with a metal finish, i.e. just for the underside, something else like that. But if we did this one here, obviously we've got the one from the Right Stuff, I think it is, that aircraft there from Luke Air Force Base, obviously in all the metals. Or we've got obviously the German ones with the where they're silver underside and everything else. So we've got a good excuse to use a metallic finish on this one, i.e. A new metal finish. Other words, Alclads, buffables, things like that. Obviously AKs, which I'll be using. So we might have a go with the new stuff. We can either then decide to go through the AK route on this particular one for the metal finishes, or we could have a go with Vallejo's. Whichever way you want to do, again, I'll put up a poll for it. It's your choice to see exactly how I'm going to build and paint this one, and in exactly what type of markings we're going to do. But this was the overall winner. I know some of you were complaining about the voting system. I thought it worked really well. Let's face it, it saves having a poll, which would be, I don't know how many kits I've got down there, 50 kits, and then having it like that. It was easier to do it this way because some of the kits never got a mention, so there was no point me listing them, and it gives me an idea of what you guys will want to see as well. So you've gone for the F104. We're going to go with a metal finish on this one. So it's either going to be something like a German marking, I say, but I have got the NATO's box variant of this coming in as well, so we've got all their markings as well. So what I'll do is I'll post up a poll at the end of the week with what markings you'd like to see it in, and then next week we'll be starting on this kit as well as doing the F1 car at the same time, so we get to having two builds on the go. So, you know, I know some of you were a little bit antsy, shall we say, in the forum about it, saying about you didn't agree with the poll system. I don't worry, because most people who actually, if you go and have a look, who said I want to do the Starfighter, also did like the thread as well at the beginning. So you could do see from the voting system how it was going. It's just people wanted, I think, to say outwardly what they would prefer, and that's what it was about, which is fair enough in the forum, but I thought it worked quite well. Anyway, Tuesday is question time. Now, last week we had a few technical issues with the live show. I've spoken with the guys afterwards, and obviously we've had a chat in the forum, things like that. What we're going to do is we're going to record it. Now, we've got two options with this one. We either go for a 2 hour, like what we do at the moment every other week, where we'll just basically answer your questions and have some themes in there and everything else. We're going to do it as one. So we'll record it in one lump, okay? So there'll be no editing. So you're going to get all the gaffes, all the laughs and everything else will be left in it, okay? Steve, and then we'll just edit him in. So he can either sit between us or it'll be on a separate screen. So straightforward, so you'll see him all the time as well. So we'll do that. And if we can get Hans involved or any other team guys who want to come in, or any special guests we've got, we can put those in. The great thing from our point of view is we can record it when we're all available as well, so there should be more of us floating around. So obviously Hans finds it difficult to do the evenings because obviously it's the middle of his work day, so we might be able to do things like earlier in the day so he can do it first thing in the morning and things like that, and vice versa for you guys in Australia. If you get any of you guys want to join in, we can adjust our time frames, and then once it's done and been put together, we'll just throw it out, and then you guys can watch it live in HD with perfect audio. And the other thing is as well, I can edit in videos into it, I can edit in your photos into it a lot clearer and cleaner, and all those things like that. And it's not a massive amount of work for us. Talking to the guys, we were saying that we might actually shorten it to a 1 hour per week, so it'll just be, you know, the we'll keep it a catchy name show, the live show, and you can ask us stuff, and it'll just be a 1 hour per week, and we can fit them in. Me and Sid have said about bringing back Destroy My Model. We can do obviously 3 or 4 of them at once and then show you them over consecutive weeks and things like that. So we've basically decided to knock the live show, as in live streaming, on the head through, just because it sounds awful, and then we're going to have it so we'll record it live, no edits, no gaffs and all the rest of it, and then literally we'll just poke it straight up after it's been recorded, and you guys can watch it from there. Anyway, we had a couple of questions that I say we didn't manage on last week's show, so I'll try and get through them as best as I can. Okay, so the first one was Owen basically said about Phil, I use Revel Aqua Thinned, God almighty, that stuff's horrible, with X20A, goes on like a dream, but Tamiya and Model Air would be my paints of choice. I've opened up the Revel stuff a few times. It would be thick. That a brush would stand straight up in. That's the trouble with it. You can just thin it and it was perfect. You can thin it, but my point is their colours with the Revel stuff, they're all over the place. If you just want a standard, you know, FS standard colour code, you have to do this mix and match rate schemes and all the rest of it. Personally, I don't just, it's not the stuff itself, it's just the way they do it. I have used it, I've used their white before, and I used their red on the red arrows and stuff like that, and it was just a bit of a nightmare. Right, okay, Robert says, hi Phil, Sid and Steve, hope all is well. The bike video is looking great, a bit further on now. No question, just wanted to say that he's got his group build medal, sticker set and everything in the post. Right, okay, Paul says, Phil, I have got the Harder & Steenbeck Ultra 2-in-1 and upgraded it to the pinch tip needle set for the Evo and the triple seal upgrade kit for it, which is basically Teflon seals inside it instead of the old ones, which makes them a little bit better. Start the Ultra to the point I would say it gives a better paint finish after the upgrades. So funny you mentioned that. I've got an Ultra coming in to put on a test review and everything else like that, so we'll definitely see how that one goes. The other one about falling skies, we'll skip that. Typhoon looks great, thank you very much. My question is, I'd like to know to what extent resin dust is dangerous. The resin parts I buy have no warnings on them whatsoever. What is the precautions I make when sanding, and what makes resin dust so dangerous, more dangerous than styrene, for example? Great show as always. Penny says hi, in bed. Oh, she's probably up now. Okay, Malcolm, resin dust, right, okay. The big thing is when you're sanding styrene dust, it's very heavy and tends to fall to your cutting mat, okay? And everything that's on your cutting mat is not a problem. The problem you have is with resin dust, it tends to be, when you're sanding it, go airborne a lot more. It's a lighter material, so by its nature than just plastic. So by its nature, it tends to go airborne, tends to get in your lungs a little bit more, and it's a fibrous material, which can cause all types of horrible things inside. Now, I get a lot of grief because people say to me about you don't wear a mask when I'm doing this and all the rest of it. I'm pretty clever though, because I usually do it outside if I'm doing a bit of sanding. I'll show you in here, then I go outside purely to keep the dust down everywhere. Is it as bad as people say? I don't think from a modelling point of view it's going to kill you in doing a couple of models. It's just from a health and safety point of view, people go a little bit over the top these days. I don't think it's a hazardous material. I don't think it's probably as bad as people make out, but if you are sanding big blocks of it and you're sanding away, you will notice resin dust tends to hang in the air more than styrene does. Styrene tends to be quite heavy particles, they hit the desk and that's it. But unfortunately with resin, it tends to hang in the air more, and I think it's just because the chance you're going to be breathing it in, and obviously if you're breathing in anything, it's not nice at all. It doesn't matter if it's chemicals, if it's, you know, from spraying, stuff like that. You don't want to be breathing it in if you don't have to. I think people probably gone a little bit over the top with it these days, because you'll see guys in massive great respirators hanging out of them and all the rest of it. You know, you're going to get smells and stuff around. To be honest, I've been using the lacquers over the last couple of days. It stinks in here, even though the spray booth's been running pretty much solidly for the last couple of days doing all this lacquer work. You're always going to get it, but you get automotive guys who do this all the time and they're not dying on us in droves. So I don't know. I think personally, from a point of view, I would just play it safe. Just wear a mask when you're sanding and everything else. But if you can, don't sand in your room, sand out. The other thing as well, if you are sanding and you've got a spray booth like this one, sand in front of it with it on. You'll notice all the harmful particles are the ones that really you can't see. They're the ones which should just hang in the air. They're the ones you want to get out. All the stuff on your desk is no problem whatsoever, because technically you can just wipe it away with a damp cloth and you're good to go. It's the stuff that's in the air. So if you've got your spray booth, sand in front of it and have it put on, and it will just exhaust it all out from obviously your environment, so you're not breathing it in. So that would be my little tip for that one. Okay, John says, Phil, have you ever used aircraft markings? Have you ever used aircraft markings masks instead of decals? No, I haven't. Lie, I have. I've done it on a tank many moons ago, obviously for the white stars for the American ones, and I've done a couple of Russian things with stars on as well. Very straightforward. I haven't tried to do the, you know, the roundel type things like down here, where you've got to sort of line them up and it's multiple layers. I haven't tried those. It's something I'd like to have a go at, so perhaps later on when we do our next kit we can have a go at it. It's just things like if you were doing something quite complex that you have to be careful with, like the American one as well with the stars and bars, you know, it's quite tricky just to line it all up. Other things, to say like iron crosses, stuff like that on Luftwaffe are pretty straightforward to put those down. Haven't had a go at it yet, but from the guys I know that have done it, I haven't had a problem. They're just the colours, because you'll need to get the insignia markings to do that one. Okay, what else have we got? Okay, Dave says, hi Phil and crew, just a quick one. Has anybody had issues applying decals after using Pledge Floor Wax Clear and the setting solution? You're getting a milky background around it. Yes. To be honest, this is something that crops up quite a bit. We get this question asked quite a bit. What happens is, if you've got too thick a layer of clear on, and then obviously you've left it a couple of hours, and then you come back and you put your setting solution on top, the setting solution is eating into that clear coat. Now it says it's a wax and all the rest of it. Technically, it's like an ammonia inside microsol especially, and things like that, I think actually eats into the surface and can give it. Top tip, when you're going around, have a cotton bud, and to be honest, I'm out of them, need to get some. But when you put the setting solution over the top, just around the immediate area around the decal, okay, obviously where it's been painted, just absorb it back up, take it back up. Don't just paint a big streak over it, because sometimes you'll notice you'll get a line of it and it walks off and its streak goes off and you'll notice a white milky line. That's because it's following obviously what is in the setting solutions, okay. Some of them are harsher than others, things like that, but normally it's where it's too thick a coat of clear, which isn't a problem because obviously your decals go down well, but it can actually eat into the surface. So I find literally a quick pass over it with a cotton bud just around the actual area around the decal will stop that happening. And it's something that I've had in the past, and that's what I tend to do now, is just to knock off that little bit so it hasn't got it pulled on top as well. And that's the other thing as well, I would recommend light coats, thin coats of like the red setting solution on top of your decal instead of one piled up high. Okay, put on a light coat, let it shrivel up a little bit, let it get in, then come back with another light coat. Do 2 or 3 light coats instead of pulling big ones up. Because I know some of you put on big blobs of setting solution, big swathes of it on top, hoping that it will all pull in. Sometimes it's better to put lots of little coats on and let it bed in and get in there quicker, and it won't affect your gloss work, because that's all it is, it's attacking the gloss work in your paint. Okay, sounds very crackly, right? Well, we did that one. Sound quality, yeah, I think that's all on sound qualities. Okay, so last question for today. Andy says, having problems with removing water stains from paintwork left over, actually it's quite a good one, left over from decal solutions. I'm using micro set and sol. What's the best way of avoiding the problem, and how can I remove the marks before varnishing? That's what we're talking about. It will be the set and sol that's actually causing an effect in your paintwork. Normally it's something to do with clear. If you're using a lacquer based paint, you tend to not to get it, okay, but if you're certainly using you know, like clears and acrylics, they tend to just get into that layer and give it a milky look. Again, just get in there and get rid of it as the time it goes on. If you have got it afterwards and you can see the ring in there, it's not the easiest thing to get rid of because it's actually trapped in the surface texture, okay. So if you were using it over a high gloss finish like this, you could just wipe it away. But if you're into a matte finish and you've got that down there and it's got caught in that texture, really the only thing you can do is give it a very light rub with either, you know, something like one of our blue sponges on the white side. Just give it a rub right the way around it, a damp cloth, and just give it a wipe. Airbrush cleaner, very quickly wiped over. Don't obviously scrub it because you'll pull everything off, but just around it should get rid of it as well. But if that stain has got into the actual texture of the paint and it's sort of welded in, it's extremely hard to get rid of it. Normally I find a wash, like a dark dirt wash right over the top, will numb that down quite a bit. Or I say you can mask off the decal itself and then go over it and just lightly airbrush some weathering around it just to darken it down. A very thin coat of black, for instance, that's heavily thinned, just to numb that whiteness down if you've got that sort of whiteness around it. But a lot of it is, again, it's a case of you've got too much setting solution sitting there idle, and as it's evaporating, it's all coming in, it's leaving you rings and tide marks all around your decal. Again, as it starts to go back, come in and just dab them off with a cotton bud all the way around, just to absorb them off so you haven't got that pooling effect that's down there on the decal. So there we go. If you've got any questions, then shoot them up. Remember, put in the title Tuesday question, and that way I'll see it straight away and I can print it off just like we do with these ones, and then that way I've got it, no problem at all, and can get back and answer straight away. Otherwise it will get left in the hundreds and hundreds of emails we get every week, and it will just disappear down in the pile never to be seen again. So So that's about it for today. Tomorrow you're going to have part 5 of the bike talking about glossing. Thursday, I've got some great reviews coming up for you, some real weird and wacky stuff, bits and pieces that I've got coming in, which are coming in today and tomorrow and everything else like that. So we've got some big things coming up for that one as well. And then we're going to be stuck on the RB6, and then next week we're going to be on with the F104 Starfighter. So plenty of things to look forward to. So until tomorrow everybody, happy modelling, take care.